Turning now to another story that we have been following very closely as I bring you out to this live image that we have at our XRAD weather system, and we're talking the latest when it comes to Hurricane Melissa making landfall yesterday in Jamaica before descending upon Cuba. Also, some of this reporting here that I want to bring up in just a moment, but first, a couple of looks at these social media posts that we have here as we continue to track Hurricane Melissa. So this first one is courtesy of Fox Weather, and we'll check in with them in just a few moments for the latest on their forecast. But they say this: destructive Hurricane Melissa made its second landfall early Wednesday morning, this time blasting portions of eastern Cuba with damaging winds and flooding rain just hours after devastating Jamaica as one of the most powerful hurricanes on record. Taking us back out live to that image that we have of our XRAD weather system, the Associated Press saying this: Hurricane Melissa making landfall in eastern Cuba near this early Wednesday as a Category 3 storm after pummeling Jamaica as one of the strongest Atlantic hurricanes on record, and that is according to the U.S. National Hurricane Center. Hundreds of thousands of people had been evacuated to shelters in Cuba, and a hurricane warning was in effect for the Cuban provinces of Granma, Santiago de Cuba, Guantanamo, Holguin, and Las Tunas, as well as the southeastern and central Bahamas. Early Wednesday, Melissa had topped sustained winds of 115 miles per hour and was moving northeast at 12 miles per hour, according to the National Hurricane Center, which is based in Miami. The hurricane was centered 60 miles west of Guantanamo, Cuba, and 230 miles south of the central Bahamas. The agency warned residents of Cuba to remain sheltered and that preparations for the storm in the Bahamas, quote, should be rushed into completion. Melissa was forecast to weaken as it crosses Cuba through the morning and remains a strong hurricane as it moves across the southeastern or central Bahamas later Wednesday. That's today. The storm is then expected to make its way late Thursday near or to the west of Bermuda, where hurricane watch is in effect. The continuing intense rain could cause life-threatening flooding with numerous landslides, and that's according to U.S. forecasters. And again, so it did pummel Jamaica, now making its way through Cuba. Now, when it made its landfall in Jamaica, it was a Category 5 hurricane, so that is the strongest that a hurricane could even be categorized, making landfall as a Category 3 when it hit Cuba. Now, when it struck Jamaica, it did have record-tying winds of 185 miles per hour. That was on Tuesday at 1 p.m. when it made landfall. It was a beast that stood out as extreme, even in a record number of monster storms spawned over the last decade in a superheated Atlantic Ocean. Melissa somehow shook off at least 3 different meteorological conditions that normally weaken major hurricanes and was still gaining power as it hit. That's according to scientists, who were reportedly a bit amazed by the strength of the hurricane. And while more storms these days are undergoing rapid intensification, gaining 35-mile-per-hour winds in over 24 hours, Melissa did a lot more than that as it achieved what's called extreme rapid intensification, gaining at least 58 miles per hour over 24 hours. Melissa turbocharged about 70 miles per hour during a 24-hour period last week and had an unusual second round of rapid intensification that spun it to 175 miles per hour. That's according to scientists. The Associated Press, who spoke with several of these scientists and meteorologists, as they said that when Melissa came ashore, it tied strength records for Atlantic hurricanes, making landfall both in wind speed and barometric pressure, which is a key measurement that meteorologists use. The pressure measurement tied the deadly 1935 Labor Day storm in Florida, while the 185-mile-per-hour wind speed equaled marks set that year and during 2019's Hurricane Dorian. Hurricane Allen reached 190-mile-per-hour winds back in 1980, but not at landfall. Now, usually when major hurricanes brew, they get so strong that the wind twirling in the center of the storm gets so intense and warm in places that the eye wall needs to grow. So a small one collapses and a bigger one forms. That's called an eye wall replacement cycle, and it usually weakens a storm at least temporarily. Melissa did show some signs of being ready to do this, but it never did. And so, again, scientists fascinated by the strength of this hurricane. Let's head down to our partners at Fox Weather as they bring you the forecast.
It happened about 3:10 a.m. local time. This second landfall in a matter of 24 hours, and we may potentially have a third. Regardless, the Turks and Caicos, the Bahamas, watching closely, but we are not done yet with Jamaica or Haiti.
No, and Cuba really having a tough go of things this morning. Again, we're just hours after landfall for their country. That circulation getting pretty close to the North Shore. This is still a Cat 3 hurricane, making it a major hurricane for Cuba. Winds are at 115 miles per hour. We do have the forward motion of this storm picking up. That's a trend that is anticipated to continue, and at least finally a positive trend with Melissa.
Yeah.
I mean, part of the struggle yesterday was how slowly this storm was approaching Jamaica. I mean, the await for landfall just felt like it was crawling towards reality.
And really, when you look at the life of this, it took a long time to get going. It sat over those open waters. It was stationary for a moment, blew up. When we take a look at the information coming in at 5 versus the 3 o'clock.
This is what you want to see.
Yeah, exactly. And that is that the pressure has gone up, the winds have gone down. It's that relationship that we see, and also the forward movement. I think that's what sticks out most. And that will continue to move forward to the northeast and maybe pick up some speed, which is good. It's going to be picked up with some steering mechanism. You talk about the backside of those storms, by the way. Those outer rain bands having an effect on Jamaica and Haiti. They're still expecting, in some cases, maybe up to a foot of rain.
We still have tropical storm warnings in effect for Jamaica, meaning that tropical storm force winds are still possible. In addition, that is also the reality for Haiti. But one of the complicated scenarios for Haiti is going to be the rainfall. I mean, we have picked up an insane amount of rain in Haiti. They're still going to pick up an additional at least 6 inches of rain. So the mudslide, landslide reality for Haiti is brutal right now. Moving on to the wind element, that is focused purely for Cuba. Yes, we have tropical storm force winds still existing for Jamaica and Haiti, but it's those hurricane force winds that do the majority of the damage, and that is continuing on Cuba this morning. Those hurricane force winds being 74 miles per hour or stronger. They extend about 30 miles out from the center.
That's closer to the surface as well. You go up in elevation, which we have a lot of here, and those wind gusts could go up to 30% in some cases. So having said that, you increase the chance for landslides because you're dumping all of this rain, heavy amounts of rain.
And then you throw in strong winds on a compromised slope.
That's all it would take to see some of these areas, see those landslides. We then look to the Bahamas, not hilly, not mountainous, and that's
very
a concern
flat
for flooding because it's flat. You can't send the water anywhere.
No, so when we have a rain forecast for the Bahamas coming in over 1.5 feet and an 8-foot storm surge, the water's coming in, the water's falling down, it has nowhere to go. So it is going to stack up on these very flat islands, and the Bahamas will be dealing with a critical issue when it comes to water. And that means folks are going to have to seek higher ground, even if that higher ground is within their home. Sometimes that is the reality of what ends up playing out with these sort of situations. Here's a look at the time frame. Again, Melissa lifting north of Cuba by lunchtime. Then we're looking at the potential for a third landfall. Whether we get that or not, it doesn't matter. The Bahamas will be experiencing a Category 2 hurricane today. That does lift out by tomorrow morning. So by Thursday daybreak, the winds will start to relax across the Caribbean. And at that point, we focus on Bermuda. Bermuda's impact will be Thursday night into Friday morning as a Category 1 hurricane.